activities that take place. The one thing he said is that there's no return. And that's one of the parts you've got to just listen to. You can't return once you start. Once you start becoming more aware of who you are in the mind of God, you can't turn away from it. You've got to keep going on that road. Knowing that the end point, the end part of that road is all that you've ever thought it could be. And even more. Because it's a journey that you must take alone. It's a journey that has wonderful rewards. And has wonderful, insightful activities that once we turn into them and tune into them, we can clearly see, as I always say, connecting the dots, where it was leading. But you've got to take that time to pick up the pen to start connecting the dots. You've got to take the time to start allowing yourself to be on the list. You know how we always put everybody else on the list? How we're always saying that they need this and they need that, and we're always reaching out and saying, okay, I can do this for them, and we never seem to put ourselves on the list. And that's one of the requirements that we have. If we're to be all that we are to be, we've got to make sure that we put ourselves on the list so that our cup can get full. And that we can then give easily from the overflow. That's not selfish, that's just what is part of the design. That as long as we are able to be and realize who we are, then greater things can take place for us and through us. But there are certain requirements to make that happen. Jerry read that interesting reading for today. And it wasn't a plug for Weight Watchers. But we do see that at this springtime, there's kind of this opening up and this desire to make some changes within ourselves. And the one clear thing that that passage or that article revealed is that once we have a belief in place, it can make us either soar to the stars or go under the covers and make us not want to come out again. Because in this teaching, we know that it is done unto you as you believe. It is done unto you as you believe. As Brenda just told her story, she was able to identify what she was attracting to her. She had so convinced herself that others who were in this area of her influence, the people on the street, the people in the gym, the people at work, all of those individuals were influenced by her belief. It changed even whatever thinks or thoughts they were thinking. It changed that. And they started seeing what she was believing. You see, and that's the whole thing. You'll see it when you believe it. Not you'll believe it when you see it. Because we know in this teaching also that consciousness goes before what? Form. Consciousness goes before form. And that is done by your belief in it, in your mind, in your way of thinking, in your way of understanding. It is done first there. And then it is outpictured into the form on this three-dimensional universe that we're living on, this three-dimensional plane. But unless it is first in that mind set, it just doesn't come out the same way. Consciousness precedes the form. So there has to be something that always just stimulates us to be able to get into that groove of understanding. for us to realize that there is a belief that we need to have and that we require to have before we can make the shifts. But there are many reasons why we aren't making the shifts. And they're very understandable. There's that part of us that's so used to doing, and doing it in such a way that has really satisfied us for our entire lives, that we continue to do it even though it's not serving our purpose. And so we get the same kind of results. Not the full expression of the results we're wanting, because we're doing things the same way. So that's one side of the belief. And that's one side of the activity that we still hold on to. And then there's that other side that we're trying to get to. And that is the being part. Being able to see that that being part of us is really the part that causes it all to happen. Because when we're looking at the different energies we put into things, there are certain areas that have low energy producing activity. And there are others that have high energy producing activity. Now when you're looking at both of them in your life, and using Brenda's example, she was at a high energy producing level in her life. After she stepped off that scale, she was there. After she had validation from her peers, she was more than there. And the more she got, the more she realized this is the truth. And the more she started to believe. Now, it's kind of interesting how we always rely on external referral to bring to us what we know is the truth. We're needing someone just to validate who we are. We're forgetting that the original validation took place before we were created. And so we're relying on those individuals who are in our area of influence to give a nod, to give a yes, to give a you're okay. That's all right. Don't release that. As long as it's on the side of the forward, upward, high energy level. Because the high energy brings more energy. The high energy brings the positive levels that we know are able to lead us on that journey of life where there's no return. And lead us on it in a way that there is nothing but that positive producing results. When we get to that other side, however, when we get to that side where there's a low energy, there's something that happens. With Brenda, it was her whole world had dissolved in front of her. She could not function because that small, only one person, only one, who had the same instrument she had at the beginning, a scale. But it was that one person who gave her a different opinion. The woman at Weight Watchers said, "Oh no, honey, it was only 1 pound." And said it a couple of times. And that negated all of the other positive Brenda had received. You see how outward validation can lead us into a direction and then lead us into the deep hole. That deep hole, which is the black hole. If you know anything about black holes, and then Brenda also speaks of this, but the black hole, and this is where the stars has collapsed, and there's this kind of energy, negative energy that comes from that collapsed star. In that, there's that darkness that comes from the star collapsing.